I just wanted to say sorry, Enes Kanter. I'm looking at you in your eyes right now. You've been fucking killing it on both ends last night, even defensively.
I just don't think he has it anymore.
Melo's the role he didn't want in Oklahoma.
Carmelo Anthony drills it straight away.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Control the Narrative, a podcast where we control the narrative that the media creates. If you're new around here, subscribe to catch our weekly podcast. And if you're a returner, a subscriber, we appreciate your attention as always. Hope you guys just like the new intro. Been working on that for a little bit. And, you know, it's a new era of Control the Narrative in 2021. And we're doing it a little bit different. We're going to test this out, see if you guys like it, if you like the multiple voices, the multiple opinions, or if you just like the kind of one-on-one interactions that we have, that's cool too. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on my guys, Velo and Zay. What's going on, homies?
How's it going, my man?
Not much, man. Yo, appreciate you guys just hopping on here fucking 2 hours later when I made that tweet. And shit like that.
Appreciate you, man.
Of course, bro. Tried getting a fourth person on here. Shout out to Key. Shit wasn't working, but we'll get him on next week. But anyway, the way we normally start this is we say, yo, how'd you start? Like in Melo, kind of your origin story and shit like that. But when we have multiple people on, let's try to switch it up a little bit. One thing I want to know from both of you, we'll start with you, Velo, is what do you think is your most underrated Melo moment or game and why?
Oh, man, for me, it's got to be, and I don't think it's talked enough, it's the 33-point quarter what he had against the Timberwolves. I just think, like, you know, just going off in the third quarter, just like getting buckets in all different types of ways. It's just, I don't think it's talked enough, right? You know, the reason why you guys kind of created this channel is because I do feel like a lot of times, especially in the last couple of years, Melo's name is kind of brought up in like a negative connotation, which is like mind-boggling to me. Because he has so many like amazing moments. Like, again, I don't think a lot of people remembers that dude went off and scored 33 points in a quarter.
Yep.
And it wasn't like just, oh, he's hot, let me shoot threes or something like that. Nah, it was like a mix of pull-ups, you know, three ball, going to the, you know, rack, steals, dunks, a free throw line, you know, the whole shebang. So for me, you know, besides all the obvious ones, that one kind of sticks out is definitely one of the most favorite moments where I was like, for 12 minutes, it felt like the entire game. So respect.
Do you remember how many points he ended up with?
I think 45.
Yeah.
I think 45. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
33,
45.
12 in the other three.
Yeah, I think he got out. Like, he played a little bit in the fourth, and then, you know, he got out. So, but yeah, I mean, it just shows what kind of amazing offensive talent overall a basketball player he just is.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think, Zay?
For me, it got to be the battle with LeBron and the Heat. Was that 2012? I think it was.
First round, right?
First round, man. LeBron coming up with his best defensive year. He should have won display the year. Display that year. They get him Mark Gasol. But just going on that battle, him, Braun, him, and giving Braun all he can handle, to be honest. That is switch off sometimes because everything mid-range. I think one quarter he hit nothing but straight mid-range pull-ups. Like, he scored nothing but jump shots that quarter. And I think because we got swept, people don't put enough respect on his play during that series.
They won one game.
They won one game?
Yeah. He had that pull-up three against Shane Battier for 40-something. Yeah.
But, you know, like, since it was, like, the Miami Heat era, a lot of people don't talk about that performance he put on against Braun, man, during Braun's prime. So, I think that needs more respect.
I like that's a good one. He always fucks up Braun. Like, to this day,
I'll be trying to tell people, man.
A few months ago in the bubble, he scored what, 13 points in one quarter, or like he had 27 or something.
I got a picture.
He went out swinging in the bubble last game. He had like 20-something, and you know he was giving buckets to AD, to Braun. He was really on top of it. So. And that's another reason where I'm like, are you guys watching basketball, or is it all just about like pluses and minuses and stuff? Like, I'm like, this game's like 30.
They love it. They love the analytics, man. They love them.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy, man. Everything can be manipulated, and data can be manipulated extremely easy. So that's why I'm like, eye test, he still passes that, like, you know, even at this advanced age and stuff. So
yeah, those are two good ones. I like those. Since this is the first one, I guess I'll say mine now. And then in the future, if you're watching this or listening to this months past the original air date, you'll know what I'm talking about. But my most underrated Melo moment or game was the 45 points with the Knicks in that game when they went to quadruple overtime in Atlanta. And remember, he was hitting every fucking clutch shot.
He was supposed to get that.
Everything.
He was supposed to get that and one on Millsap
at
too
the
and
end
win the
of the
game.
fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me, because there was so much on the line, like that was where the season was kind of going downhill. And I knew that, like, yo, if they don't start winning, the Knicks, Phil Jackson, who was the president at the time, was just going to trade everybody. Like, and it was the end of Melo, New York. And he did every fucking thing he could. Didn't get any fouls. And then, of course, he fouled out on a bullshit call in, like, the second overtime or some shit like that. So for me, I just thought it was, like, mad underrated in terms of people don't really give that game the respect. And it was just very symbolic of, like, his whole Knicks career where he does everything he could and just doesn't have anyone else to back him up. So
Headband falling off his head, hitting jumpers over.
Remember that shit?
Team Hardaway.
No foul call. They just fucking flew
talking
off.
to
No
the
foul
crowd.
calls, man.
That's like prime Melo right there. Like
Wild.
just talking
So-
shit,
Definitely.
jumper after jumper.
Exactly. So I really liked that one. I thought that one was symbolic.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Let's get into 2021 Carmelo Anthony. Last night, we're filming this on Tuesday, January 12th. Last night, he, I guess, went off. 20 points for Melo coming off the bench, I guess, is like going off. But he had a great game, put up 20 points, 13 in the fourth quarter. The Blazers were down 17 and came back to win by 1 point. I was like, we were just talking a little bit off camera right before we started recording that. Like, that was the first game where I was like fucking hyped this year. So let's start with you, Zay, on this one. What did that game last night versus the Raptors tell us about Melo in 2021?
Well, what it tell me is I see a lot of growth from my mans, yo. Not only like taking the backseat role, coming on the bench, but his defensive effort I seen last night. His hands was real active, getting off, getting the blocks, getting the reach-ins, getting the steals, going on the break, giving it up. It made me proud, yo, because being a Melo fan, you know how much slack we get from Melo being a ball hawk. And people think Melo's a ball hawk, and he's not this, he's not that, not knowing he's an underrated rebounder and a passer in his whole career. It was just good seeing him, you know, the growth, and not just the Melo ball player, but Melo the person, like taking that back seat and just putting more defensive effort in. You know, always he's been an underrated defender in my opinion. But and that fourth quarter, I was hyped when that fourth quarter, man. I was hyped. I really felt like New York Melo, 13 points, hitting the open threes. He hit the pump fake in the corner on what's the dude's name? Butcher, I think his name is.
Boucher or whatever it is.
Boucher, yeah. He top 2 in blocks this year, I think, so far. Hitting the pump fake, step 3. It was great to see, man. I loved it. Like every single second of it, man. We need more of that, just consistency, defensive effort, and you know, I think he's doing a good job filling his role.
Yeah, I like that, the growth part of it. Like, obviously, fucking balled out, but, like, coming off the bench and, like, 2 steals, 2 blocks, like, very involved defensively. And, like, you know, people want to shit on his defense all the time. And, like you said, he's been so criticized as a defender. Like, he's just an open door. Like, people just scoring him when it's never been like that. We're not sitting here saying he's a fucking lockdown defender, but he's decent. He's always been like good. He's never anything.
He's been above average post defender throughout his entire career.
Yeah,
above average on the post. You're not moving him around. I'll tell you that. So I don't care who you are.
Every respected wing says Melo is one of the strongest guys.
Exactly.
And nobody scores easily in the post of Melo, man. Nobody. It's always a tough bucket.
Great point. Velo, what do you think? What did that game last night tell you about Melo in 2020?
I don't know, man. I mean, in this era of like, you know, everything being I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment for anything, you know, especially when it comes like down to like Melo situations, because like he doesn't need to prove anything to me. Like I know how good he is. Bad games, good games, great games. Like to me, like, you know, he's in my opinion, he's not properly utilized, you know, in this type of rotation. I feel like, you know, previous year with him kind of like fitting into the, you know, people say, oh, he's getting more touches or whatnot, and, you know, you can go through him more in the second unit. I still feel like with the amount of attention CJ, especially this year, he's getting, And Dame being a willing passer, a lot of people call Dame the ball hog and stuff. I honestly think that Dame, if I shot like Dame, I would shoot it every fucking time when I pass the half court. But he, in my opinion, is a willing passer and wants to make people around him better. So I do think with two of them in the lineup, he would get easier touches, and he would get probably higher percentage. Better open looks, especially with the pick and roll that Dame and Nurk are running, where kind of Nurk gets that pass and then he kind of usually kind of flings it in the corner, and Melo hits a lot of those shots. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of trying not to stay a prisoner of the moment. It was a great moment. I enjoyed watching it, but for me, 18 years I've been watching this dude. I'm already ready for the playoffs. And I'm ready for the playoffs when it actually matters, because I know that dude always shows up when it matters. And they obviously have a lot more things to figure out from the perspective of rotations and how things are going to work out. I don't know if Nurk is seriously hurt or not, because he missed majority of the game last night, which kind of allowed Melo to play for the first time, I think 30 minutes or something like that. Which again ended up, in a win and him scoring 20 points. So in my opinion, it just kind of goes to show you that if you give him the touches and you surround him, in my opinion, with a great point guard and the defensive-minded center, that dude is going to ball out. And that always happened. When New York had Tyson Chandler and he had Jason Kidd, he was balling out. When in Denver, when he had Chauncey and he had, defensive-minded centers, he had Kenyon Martin and then he had Nene and stuff, I think, at the time. He was balling out. So again, anybody who knows basketball knows what Melo needs in order to be successful. And I do agree with what he was saying from the perspective that he embraced that role. I'm going to be a little honest, because I'm such a big fan. I am not a fan of him embracing that so much. I'm happy for my man. And yes, it's time, because obviously he's now 36, 37. But I still feel like night like yesterday can show us that he can still go out there, and if given anywhere between 13 and 16 touches, he can give you 23, 24 points easily. Now again, he doesn't necessarily need to do that, but I do feel like if he was in that starting lineup and then closing games with CJ, with better talent around him, because he's still getting doubled, right? I mean, we watched a couple of games. Dude,
You're
getting doubled.
In the post.
Exactly, because he is that option, in the second unit. Because he's gonna, kick it out, and Rodney Hood has been struggling. I love that dude, but he's been coming off Achilles, so he'll need some time to get back in game shape. So I do feel like his percentages and what these analytics do like to point out, they are lower because he's playing with worse players. If he was in that starting lineup, he would get better looks. And I think his efficiency would be higher, and I think it would benefit both him and the team, to be completely honest.
That's fair. One last note on this, and then we'll move on to the next thing. I think for me, it showed me that kind of like you said, but we've been watching this dude for so long, and there's really nothing he does where I'm he hasn't done that before. We kind of know what to expect, but how many times does this dude have to reprove himself to everybody, from casual fans to Blazer fans now? There's a lot of good Blazer fans out there. This is not all Blazer fans, but there's some in my mentions on Twitter and shit like that just talk.
They're not Blazers fans. They're not Blazer fans, man. They're not. They're just fake trolls. They're not Blazer fans. I promise you that a true Blazer fan appreciates what Melo did, even if he didn't come back this year. And I don't think any casual, even a casual basketball fan who knows basketball and watched it longer than a decade, I don't think they know who Carmelo Anthony is. He doesn't need to prove anything. You know what I mean? It's just what it is. Anybody who knows basketball even a little bit. What bothers me is people that are getting paid to write. The beat writers, when they get into a certain kind of schematics. I think, what's his name, John Amick or something. I was really surprised that he had a couple of articles before the even season started that Melo is not going to embrace the role. And then yesterday, I think somebody again, another Melo stan, I think, kind of tweeted at you and controlled the narrative and said, look how interesting. They didn't even mention Melo.
Jason Quick.
Yeah, so yeah, Jason Quick,
Mm-hmm.
that's who it is. But one of the Melo stands tweeted at
Oh,
you.
Forever Shining, my boy
Yeah,
Big
and
Hot.
he said, like, look how it's interesting, like the narrative, like he doesn't even mention the guy that,
Weird.
basically Melo comes up with a steal, comes up with a block, hits a couple of big threes, a big, fadeaway over Van Fleet. So
Yep.
there's a lot of things, like you can talk about it if you want to look at it from the game to game perspective. We're at that famous 10-game Daryl Morey style, so we can kind of judge Melo and see where he's at first 10 games. But, he's still averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, an assist. He's shooting over 40% from the three. He embraced that role. I think multiple reporters kind of like said that he is that everybody respects him on the team and loves them, from coaches to players to personnel. So again, he is who he is for a reason, right? So, but we're here to kind of protect his name while we can until he decides to hang it up, which I hope won't be anytime soon.
Yeah, in like 15 years from now. But
yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get on to more of the Blazers team and off of Melo a little bit. Zay, we'll start with you again. This Blazers team so far this season has been just really inconsistent. Like one game versus the Kings that look really good, and versus the Warriors they looked really good, and then the next game they come out versus the Warriors and like Steph dropped 62. It's like, okay, but like that Bulls game they came out and they just didn't have it. So why do you think this Blazers team is so up and down one game to the next, and how do you think they can become more consistent on a nightly basis?
I think it starts with like people missing time with the games. I know we just got Gary Trent back, and like you said, Nick was dealing with a little issue, Rodney Hood. So I think it just comes with the consistency of keeping players on the court. Now, I feel like the team goes as Dame and CJ goes. So if Dame is not particularly on, CJ just pick up the slack. If CJ's not on, Dame just pick up the slack, and Dame hasn't. He's been a little up and down as the season has been going. But I love the way CJ's playing. He's giving me, that Batman Robin vibe. If Dame's off, he's gonna pick it up. Another thing that I think that the Blazers, why we were so successful in the bubble last year, was our threes. Dame and CJ are penetrating point guards. They had to get into the rack, and CJ likes to get into that little mid range, hit them 2 crossovers, kick out. People crash in, he kicks out. And I think we haven't been hitting that clip of threes that we usually do hit. I think when Trent gets back into it and Hood gets back into it and we start knocking them threes down, I think we start to pick up the slack. So I think it's just consistency, keeping people on the court, keeping them guys, Dame and CJ, being consistent. I think CJ's leading the team in scoring right now over Dame. So once one day finds his stride and they get that energy, because Dame brings a lot of energy to that team. Once he gets going, he loud, he like to yell and stuff when he makes dunks. So once we get that energy and we get our people on the court, we're gonna be fine, man. I'm not even worried about it. It's all right.
All right, Velo.
Yeah, for me, I think a lot of it comes down. There's a lot of new personnel, right? There's a lot of people that they brought in. They brought in 2 new forwards, that they implemented in the starting 5. So obviously, they're trying to improve the defense, right? Nobody's saying that Melo is a lockdown defender. Covington and DJ are supposed to be better defenders, but to be completely honest, I think a lot of it is going to come down to just like, time. It takes time. I played ball not on that level, obviously, but, whenever you get new personnel, it takes time for things to gel. Shorter season, the lack of preseason, short off season, the lack of preseason, all of those things take time, to address. So I feel they have the right personnel. I feel like they have a deep squad. But everybody needs to perform as well, right? And with that being said, I think Gary Trent Jr. had really good games and then not so good games, right? I feel like him and Melo should always find 25 plus minutes, no matter what is happening. They should always find 25 plus minutes for those 2 guys. And I also feel like I mentioned this before. I'm not sure still about the schematics from the perspective of minutes. And the rotation of the players that are sharing the court together. Given we're not there at practice every day and seeing what Terry Scott is seeing and the rest of the personnel, but I would limit the amount of minutes that Kanter and Melo are sharing. I definitely feel like there's room for Kanter. You know, he had a lot of success there previously when the first stint with Portland. He's great offensive presence. You know, he's a rebounding machine, but you know, we all know that he's not going to block shots. You know, we all know that he is not really going to impact the field, on the court on defensively. So the more minutes you can find, that's what I'm saying from the perspective, you know, start Melo, put DJ in, and kind of like, you know, just make that switch, you know, from the minutes perspective. Let Melo close and start games and let DJ, give him even a little bit more freedom where he can go out there and make something happen offensively. You know, run some plays where he catches some alley-oops and get his teammates, get the energy out of him. So I think a lot of it is going to come down to what I honestly think that the joker of this team and kind of like the most important people is going to be the coaching staff. The implementations that they call and how they're going to structure the plays and, you know, the minute distribution. And I think that is the key to Portland's success, because I honestly don't see a flaw. Like they're not missing shooting. They're not missing size. They have defenders. They have the full team. They have the depth. So now it's all about kind of getting all of that on the same page. And I'm really kind of anxious to see, like, and excited to see, like, game 30, game 40. You know, once this kind of like second half of the season starts, how are they going to look like then? I'm not necessarily even worried that much for next 10 games or so. I think they're still testing the waters. But coaching schematics are going to be like the key for me going forward and what Terry decides to do.
That's fair. So both of you guys think it's more of like a time thing. That's fair. I'm not mad at that.
I'm not going to be Darren Moore and tell you that after 10 games, everything is
That's fair. They brought in a couple new starters and they have some new bench pieces. Even like Kanter, he was there, but he's still new to this core of guys.
I still can't get over the fact I never seen DJ as a starter in the league. You know, I like his athleticism, his length. He obviously improved his shooting, but I've never seen him as a starter in the league. I don't think he started any games. I might be wrong. He might have started some games for the Heat, but you know, he was always kind of like the burst of energy type of player. So I don't even know why would you start him and not even start maybe somebody like Gary Trent Jr. Honestly, if you're gonna start somebody, you know.
Definitely.
So
I agree with that. He wasn't even fucking playing in the playoffs for the Heat.
Yeah,
and then
he won't.
No, there's definitely room for him on that Blazers squad. I just don't know if it's like 35 minutes a game type of role where he's like a legit starter.
It's wild.
I feel like when you got Melo or Trent out there, like I was saying earlier, just to back up what Velo was saying, Dame and CJ are penetrating point guards. That leaves room for them to dish out. And when Melo goes in the post, they can't double up that. You got Trent, Dame, and CJ out there. Trent was shooting that amazing clip during the bubble in the playoffs. Like, can't leave that man open. You know you can't leave Dame and CJ open. So I feel like I understand where Velo coming from with Melo being certain to starting role. I think it will help him a lot.
Yeah, even if it's Gary Trent, man, I just feel like both of those guys are better shot creators and shot makers than DJ is. And again, I feel like DJ got a lot better as a player. I don't really see it as a 35-minute per game type of player. So.
Facts. All right. I don't really have much to add. I feel like you guys both have covered everything better than I could say. Like, it's literally just time. Give it some time, and people. I'll be honest, I was shitting on Derrick Jones Jr. in the first 10 games and shit like that, but I feel like if they're gonna stick with this, if they are actually gonna do Derrick Jones Jr. as a starter and Melo coming off the bench, then you have to give it time. They've shown flashes. They're 6-4 to start the season, right? Or am I making that up? Pretty sure they're 6-4.
6-4.
6-4 to start the season, so it could be worse. Obviously, that Bulls game they should not have lost. That Warriors game was tough. Steph went for 62.
They should have just doubled Steph as soon as he passed half court. They win that game. Again, that's another coaching schematics. I don't know how anybody
leave
drops.
Kelly, leave Oubre open.
Yeah, I don't know how you let anybody score 60 on you and you decide not to double him. Let everybody else beat you. I'm okay with Oubre shooting threes because I don't know if you guys saw that stat with Oubre without him shooting the threes. They're like number 4 rated team in there. Yeah, and with him, they're like 28th or 29th or something like that. So I'm like, let Wiggins shoot, let Draymond make buckets, like whatever, but let somebody else beat you. So that's what I'm saying when I see like coaching schematics are going to be really important. Like in this league, you can't let just one. I know there's a lot of amazing talent, and Steph is definitely on top of there, but you got to make some adjustments where he's not just hitting threes after three for you. So
Fair. All right, let's get into some of those coaching schematics. Portland obviously has a bunch of playmakers on the team. Dame, CJ, Melo, Nurkic is even like a playmaker in a lot of ways. Gary Trent can make plays. Anthony Simons, like Rodney Hood, like they have a lot of guys who can make things happen. And some people say that they run too much isolation, that they depend too heavily on like giving it to one guy, whether it's Dame, CJ, Melo, Rodney Hood. Sometimes they just give it to a guy and say, yo, go get a bucket, go get us a good shot, as opposed to running some sets. And like, obviously they have fucking plays that they run. But what I want to know, we'll start with you, Velo, this time. Do you think Portland runs too much isolation offensively? Obviously.
Yeah, usually I play around sometimes when I have some free time and I kind of look up these stats to see how much teams are running isolation stuff. So I don't have that like necessarily in front of me, but just from the games I've seen so far, I honestly didn't feel like there was a lot of isolation, right? Where it's like, oh, it's unbearable. I cannot watch this type of basketball. Where like Houston, like last couple of years, like give ball to James Harden, he dribbles like 15, 20 times and he shoots. I don't see a lot of that. But with that being said, I would like to get in those isolation moments where you can exploit the mismatches from running sets, right? So you get some pin downs, you get some pick and roll action or something, right? You get like, cross screen action. So you get those mismatches and you get people in isolations, where they're most kind of like comfortable and most efficient from. Again, a lot of it, I don't think the offense is the issue. I think they're like number 4 offense in the league or something like that. They're going to score on you because they have so many options. And what's scary is that Covington hasn't been shooting the ball great to start off the season. He's been picking it up lately. DJ, as I said, he's still kind of growing into his zone. Gary Trent Jr. has been up and down. Melo hasn't had like the great games because, again, he doesn't have that rhythm. It's kind of like even yesterday, he started like 1 for 7 or something like that. He hit like his first shot and missed like 6. And then he balled out the fourth quarter. So I think a lot of it is going to come down to those kind of like schematics where like I don't mind the ISO if it's working and you're getting buckets, but for me a lot of it is going to come down to like the other side of the court, right? Because if one thing I'm sure you guys watched every bubble game, that motherfucking thing was like a heart attack after heart attack. Every game was close. I'm like, why? We're up 20. Why is this game?
There's
all of a
3
sudden?
minutes left in the fourth, and we're up 20.
Why is this game all of a sudden like 2-point game? Like, there's no reason this game should be a 2-point game. And I feel like to start off this year, there's a similar pattern to that. I wouldn't say not as much, but a similar pattern to that. Like they were up 20 points at Chicago, like against the Bulls, right? At home, you need to close them out. Like you need to go up 30, 35, put, pedal to the metal and just, be done with it. You should not allow those type of teams to come back and win in your own gym. So, again, I think, Terry Stotts, I think he's a great offensive coach. I don't know who on that bench is really kind of forcing, like who is implementing the defensive schematics. But I also seen last 3-4 minutes of the game yesterday where they were balling out on defense. Like there were great switches, they were communicating, there's a lot of active hands. So I think a lot of it also comes down to the effort because again, with CJ and Dame, they're both undersized for their positions. So they really need to kind of set the example. I don't think he's going to start with Nurk. I don't think he's going to start with Covington. I think he needs to start with those 2 guys, right? If they put in the effort, because again, as 2 best players, if they put in the effort on that side and they get some stops, that will get Nurk going. That will get Melo going. That will get Covington going. And all of a sudden, you get 3, 4, 5 stops in a row. And I bet you if they go 5 times down the court, even on their worst ISO play, they'll get 3 times. They'll score 3 times because they have that type of talent. So that's kind of what it is for me.
All right, Zay, what do you think about Portland's offense? Too much isolation, or do you kind of agree with Velo that no, it's fine because they have those guys?
I'm gonna agree with Velo. When you got a team that got weapons like Trailblazers do, unless you're giving the ball 15 times like Harden, that's no problem with the isolation. I feel like what Terry Scott does a good job of is running the sets to get the mismatches. Like whether it be a backside screen or a pick and roll play where a big switches on Dan, because it's a lot of switching now, especially with an athletic team like the Raptors. They bigs is really athletic. I think the ISO is more taking advantage of those mismatches. So I don't think like if you got Dame, CJ, and Melo, ain't enough isolation. They can score the ball anytime, any given second. So I think the thing that they lacking on as a team is defense. Just getting up there, switches. Not letting one person kill you. We can't let guys like Levine, Steph Curry. These are great scorers. Like we got to get in their chest. We got to get in their pocket. We got to double team them.
Yep.
I like what I seen last night. We was real active with the hands. We're active in the passing lanes. And as long as we continue to do that, I don't think the isolation is the problem. I think it's the effort on defense. Kanter and Nurk they getting on the boards, back on the boards, and as long as like clogging that paint, we got to find a way to clog up that painted area. But isolation is definitely not the problem. When you got scores like that, isolation is never the problem.
Fair. I'm not mad at that. I think I should have reworded this now that I hear you guys' answers. But really, the reason I asked this is because sometimes, like, there's been stretches in that Chicago game, I'm pretty sure, where Dame and CJ come down and like every time it's ISO, shoot a three. And for me, it's like, yo, run one play, like run a pick and roll, like run something that you can get some ball movement and an open look. So it's not just a Dame step back three. It's not a CJ, I don't know, floater in the lane over like a 7-footer or something like that. So for me, I think the isolation, I wouldn't say it's too much isolation, but I think like when it's not going well, when Dame doesn't have it, when CJ doesn't have it, which hasn't been many games, but even in little stretches, they just come and I feel like sometimes they just chuck threes and shit like that. It's like, yo, run a play, drop it down to Nurk on the block, like see what he can do, whether it's Melo, even Kanter. Kanter's, and we'll get into Kanter in 15 seconds, but even Kanter, just lob it to him, let him work on the block. So I don't think it's too much isolation. I just think when the isolation is not going their way, stop, like try something different. Like there's times where
if there is one thing I can add to that is what is missing on the offensive side is Nurk is out of shape, right? Like he's obviously not he's not bubble Nurk, right? And I know he's been dealing with a lot of personal stuff back from Bosnia, his grandma dying, he's obviously still not the player that he was in the bubble, which is kind of scary because even in the bubble he came back after really scary injury, so he wasn't like his full self even then.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think CJ and Dame should run a pick and roll with him every single time down the court. And then if they're doubling, out of pick and roll, if they're doubling CJ or Dame, and they cannot be the playmakers, give it to Nurk and let him be the creator.
He's a
great passer.
Like he'll backslide. DJ can backslide, do a back door for easy dunks. If they're not, he can just kick it out to Melo and Rodney Hood, and he can be that playmaker from the, elbow free throw line area. But obviously, he needs to kind of get back in shape and be the player that I know he can be, and that defensive presence as well. Because I think right now he's averaging like 8-9 points. Right in the bubble, he was averaging 18, 19. So those 10 points, and again, their offense is number 4, even without all of that. So you add like primetime Nurk to what they already have. That's a scary team, man. It really is.
Scary. Fair. All right. We're kind of run out of time. Not really, but let's get 30 seconds from each of you on your thoughts on Enes Kanter's play so far this year. Because I'll be honest, I'll go first real quick. I was shitting on him, and I was saying, yo, he couldn't defend anybody, and like offensively, like yes. He gets offensive boards. Yes, he shoots a high percent because a lot of his shots are at the rim and shit like that. But my frustration is not really with him. It's more with the coach for playing him and Melo next to each other for such long periods of time. Like, they're both not great defenders. So with Melo, like, you need that 5 who can block shots. That's why I really wanted Giles. And we'll see what happens with Nurk if he's out for just yesterday, because like he was questionable to return. So we'll see if it's like a one-night thing or if it's a longer thing. But anyway, I just wanted to say sorry, Enes Kanter. I'm looking at you in your eyes right now. You've been fucking killing it on both ends. Last night, even defensively, he was killing it. getting the passing lanes and like affecting shots and shit like that in the paint. So, sorry, Enes.
Nah, for me, I mean, I gotta be honest. Enes is who he is, right? We know who Enes Kanter is, and he's not gonna change his game all of a sudden or be something that, oh my gosh, he's blocking shots, he's making all these amazing defensive plays. They brought him in to rebound the ball and to get buckets, and that's what he did pretty solid no matter what team he was on, right? I think he has good personality. He's good for the team, but I just feel like he's doing what he's always been doing. Right. I just, from the perspective, like, he's not this amazing shot blocker. That's not why they brought him. I think, honestly, that's why they brought Giles, because they know that his deficiencies are on the defensive side of the ball. But like Melo, like Nurk, I want to say like majority of the team, except CJ, who's been pretty much consistent, everybody had ups and downs, right, throughout these 10 games. So more consistency where we can see more games like last two from him, where he's a walking double-double. Yep. He's going to get his 20, 22, 25, 30 minutes, depending of how he's feeling it. But, he just needs to take advantage of that, do as best as he can, communicate on defense, and then get buckets on offense. And honestly, I'll be satisfied with that.
All right. Not mad at that. Zay?
I've always been a big Kanter fan. A couple years ago, he had this game where he was going to Ramadan, he was fasting. He just balled out, and eat all day, was dehydrated. So when Enes Kanter plays good, it makes me feel good. Like I say, like Velo said, he got a good personality, man. He's never too down. But when it comes to playing with Melo, I don't really like them on the floor together a lot, because they both post presences. You know what I'm saying?
I know they work out with C. Brickley together, but
yeah, it don't work together.
Limit those minutes, man.
Yeah, man. So like you said, it's just he's not a good defensive presence. He's not going to give you block shots. I'm really looking forward to seeing Giles get in more. I love Harry Giles. Love what he did in the preseason. I think he gets explosive. He's an athletic. Man, I think he gets a little better presence. But when Kanter plays good, you can feel it. Like when he's active, it's good. But when he's not active, he goes to his defensive slumps, like I like to call them. It's not good for the team, man. It's not.
If you could do those flying subs, like offense for defense, and just like slide Giles on defense and then slide Kanter on offense, that would be like Portland would be like 10-0 right now.
That's ideal. That'd be dope. All right, yeah, that's fair. We kind of know what to expect from him and shit like that. I guess I was just a little hard on him because I just really wanted to see Harry Giles. But anyway, we'll see.
There's something about Kanter. He's easy. It's easy to hate on him too, man. He's like one of those dudes. Sure. Somehow it is like like you see him like wobbling around the court. He's always like theatrical and stuff.
Even the way he runs, I don't like the way he runs. But
yeah, he runs like a oversized robot, man. He
runs like fucking Woody from Toy Story. But anyway, all right, we've reached the end of this podcast. As you guys know, at the end of every podcast, we allow the guest, tonight for the first time, two guests, to control a narrative. It doesn't have to be basketball related. It doesn't have to be sports related. It could literally be anything you want. So I'm going to give each of you, let's do it in 60 seconds, that time to control a narrative. We'll start with you, Zay.
All right. Control the narrative. Just being a black kid in America, there's a lot of bad stereotypes, especially when you come from where I come from, Harlem, New York. I don't get the best rep from big black guy. You know what I'm saying? People see what they see, and they want to judge what they judge. But behind the kid, the young man, it's a college graduate with a biology degree. And we're not all bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, judge me on my character, not of my looks or my color of my skin. So with everything going on right now, I just want to say, be kind to everyone. Have a good mindset, good energy, brings good output. So,
yeah, man, it's awesome.
Velo?
Yeah, for me, man, it's something I previously mentioned. It's kind of like two-part. It's don't be a prisoner of the moment and do your research. Everything that's happening in the world, in sports, politics, you name it, right? Don't be a prisoner of the moment. Don't get caught up in the moment and do your own research. You know, don't listen to what somebody said. Don't look at a 60-second Twitter video and make your educated opinion, right? Read something more of it. Talk to people. You know, get something more out of it than just like, oh, this is it and that's it. I cannot change my opinion, right? I think that is one of the reasons why you guys started this channel, is because all of a sudden you see how easy it's to kind of like, you know, switch narratives around against the Hall of Fame player, right? But there's a lot more important things than, you know, just kind of sticking up for your favorite player, right? Everything that's going on in the world with politics, with racial injustice, people not doing enough research, you know, just kind of making those educated opinions in like, you know, 30-second videos, or like, this is it. So yeah, I just encourage everybody to just, you know, take some time, you know, to do research, and then when they voice their opinions and they side with somebody, they have the facts, they know exactly why they're doing that, instead of just saying, oh well, somebody else told me. So yeah.
Respect. I think both of those kind of tie in together, so I like the message. You know, usually
I
people
agree.
come on here and, you know, they just want to talk about Melo for the last one, which is fair. Like, it's fucking Melo podcast, but, you know, it's good to hear different shit and, like, you know, more important stuff than Carmelo Anthony's narrative. So anyway.
Yeah, Melo will be fine. He made like $1 billion. I think he'll be fine without us, you know, protecting him. So, but it's still fun. It's still fun.
We got his back, though. We got his back.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever. All right, yo, Velo, Zay, I appreciate both of you coming on very short notice and, you know, making history. You know, this might be the first of many multi-guest control episodes, and, you know, if that's the case, then we'll always look back at this one and say, yo, remember when we tried getting Keon here for 10 minutes and he wasn't getting on? It ended up being us three and had to change the background and shit like that. So I appreciate both of your times.
He's still lagging somewhere in the background.
I appreciate both of your times, Key. Shout out to Key, man. And yeah, man. Good looks. Appreciate both of you, and, you know, stay mellow.
Stay mellow, Steve. Always.
Appreciate it, my man.
Steve. Thank you, man.